Hey, Steve, how's it going?
It's going excellent, Randy. Great to see you. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Awesome to see you. Everybody, this is Steve Hershkowitz, the CRO at Rimini Street. He's been a great longtime friend, a fantastic executive, and we have got a terrific title topic today, which is driving a commit culture. We're sponsored by Sandler, who is the sales training sponsor of Sales Community. So certainly sales training, something that is all the more critical these days, right, Steve?
That's right. Sales training is important. If you don't enable your people, Randy, you can't hold them accountable to be successful.
That is for sure. And as always, brought to you by Sales Community. For those that are members of Sales Community, thank you. For those that are not, Tucker will throw up a free link that you can use. And Steve's also a longtime advisory board member. So thanks for that, Steve.
Thank you. Really an honor.
And by way of introduction, Steve lives in Fort Lauderdale. So kind of just do that way from me over here from Naples. He is a big sports fan, especially basketball, especially Miami Heat. But as he says, you have no time for sports because selling is your main sport now.
That's right. You got it right, Randy.
Selling your team and growing, which is great. So we met, we think probably about 15 years ago when HP acquired 3Com, was immediately impressed with Steve, great relationships, great blocking and tackling, great job with the partners, and just great executive all around. And over his tenure, got thrown into a lot of different situations where he always yielded tremendous success, and also a fantastic father, family man, and just somebody that's always been a joy to be around. So thank you very much for your friendship as well.
Thank you, Randy. Likewise, and really enjoy getting together with you when we have those opportunities. I actually think I see you less now that you live in Florida than I saw you when you were living in Boston. But
yeah, there you go.
Really good to see you.
There you go. Thanks. And then to help with introductions, have some a few mutual friends. So Jazz Sood, who's now executive at Palo Alto, said Steve is a very genuine person. We've always shared the same thoughts on work ethic and how we lead organizations. Steve and his family are amazing humans. One of my fondest memories is driving in the car from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando with Steve on some sales calls. It was hours of windshield time where we talked about life, work, career aspirations, and favorite vacation spots. So great. And back in the old days, there's he's since passed, rest in peace, Walter Brown, who's included in my book, a couple of his books. But said, hey, there's nothing like windshield time. So with this kind of post-COVID era and COVID era, I mean, that's just something that seems to get lost these days. And there's really, just like with you and Jazz there, but kind of having that time with a rep to figure out, how are they doing? How's their family? What's feedback? I mean, that's something that seems to have gotten lost.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Jazz is a dear friend of mine. I respect her so much as a professional, as an executive, and as a friend. But you're right. This quarter, and our quarter ends in 2 weeks, so we're swinging the bat here. I've been on the road and I have visited 50 customers in 3 months. Okay. And the thing I like most is spending time with the reps, getting to know them personally, making sure that we're supporting them and enabling them to be successful, but also getting to know what's going on in their personal lives, because we're all humans. And folks that you take a genuine interest in tend to be more satisfied at work and tend to want to stretch themselves for you. So I really like that part of the job, Randy.
Absolutely. And also some fantastic bonding opportunities where you happen to have the private jet to hustle between sales calls, getting some of the team to come with you as well.
Yeah, that's been a good incentive. Of course, we have to manage that against our expenses so we don't overdo it. But when it makes sense and we've got a cluster of meetings between various cities, nothing like bringing some of the team, onto the event and then getting around to 3 or 4 cities, doing tons of sales calls in a week. Improves the productivity and also motivates the team to want to be successful to get business done.
Right. Now, when you came there, was that culture? I know your DNA, my DNA is all about face-to-face sales calls. But was that something you had to kind of intentionally lean in on to kind of amp up and ramp up what the team was doing there?
Yeah, I would say so. I think this is a great company, and I'll talk a little bit more about it as we go through the segment here today. But it was built on a support infrastructure, and it's been a very engineering-driven culture and a very services delivery-driven culture, which is what you need in order to enable maximum customer satisfaction. But we also had to institute this level of face-to-face meetings and customer intensity and business relevant selling in order to hit the growth targets and the growth trajectory that we need to hit in order to satisfy our customers, our partners, our employees, and our shareholders. So I brought this sales-driven, call it a commit culture to the company, and we are a half a year into executing against it, and the results are remarkable.
Fantastic. So from Paolo, who's about to land a new great gig, was previously executive at Insono. There's never a bad day with Steve. He has a positive attitude, even when it is hard to find opportunities for success. We're both part of a large organization during a challenging reorg at HPE. And Steve maintained his optimistic attitude and jumped into a new challenging role despite the uncertainty and complexity. I admire that mindset because he always finds a way to persevere through for sure. And then Peter Quirk, executive now at AMD. Stephen is a terrific leader with a knack for turning complex challenges into substantial wins, from partnering with legendary CEOs like John Chambers and Meg Whitman to participating in initiatives like HP's historic split or Pensando's development and ultimate sale. His career is an excellent example of strategy, execution, and growth. Whether scaling startups for a successful exit or steering massive enterprise P&Ls, he's consistently delivered results that speak for themselves. And on top of that, he's a fantastic person. Go Hirsch. Dan Belanger, who was recently AWS, now at NICE, says, have had the good fortune to know and work with Steve for many years, dating back to our time at HP, where Steve held several leadership roles in the North America sales organization. He deals with complexity and scale well and is comfortable operating at the C-suite, focused on business outcomes that are meaningful to those personas. He indexes high on authentic leadership and building high-performing teams. So all wow. Good, and I will send those to you, and you can put them on your refrigerator.
I will. Those are all great people, great colleagues of mine, and I've learned a lot from every single one of them. So thank you, Peter, Paula, Dan, and Jazz. I really appreciate it.
So good here. So why don't you tell us briefly about your impressive background, maybe starting with your first job out of college?
Sure. So my first job in this industry was working for a communications cabling company called Automated Systems Design out of Atlanta, Georgia, who actually still exists today. It was a small company, that was based upon building communications infrastructure, mainly cabling infrastructure for large scale enterprise customers. And what I learned in that job was that there were a lot of people coming from EMC and coming from Cisco and coming from other manufacturers that were selling very sophisticated pieces of hardware that were leveraging the infrastructure and the cabling systems that I was selling to enable their businesses. And it looked like all of their careers and their companies were really on a fast track. So I sort of made the transition from selling infrastructure to moving into working for a manufacturer. My first manufacturer was based out of Littleton, Mass. It's a company called Xyplex Networks, invented the multi-protocol terminal server, and I ran Florida and the Caribbean for Xyplex back in the early 90s, and really cut my teeth as being a seller for a large-scale manufacturer at that time. Xyplex was later acquired by Raytheon. I was recruited to go to Cisco Systems, and I became one of their first sales reps in the Southeast, one of the first in Florida, and really helped to build the Florida business into what it is today. So I ran as a sales rep for many years at Cisco, as a manager, led the Southeast. I was a specialist there, and I learned a lot, okay? After Cisco, I did a couple of other things. I went to Avaya, learned IP voice. From there, landed at 3Com, where we sold the company to HP, at the time before it was HPE, where I met you, Randy. Then I made a journey back to Cisco. You tried to save me, but I had to make it happen because my son was playing basketball at the time and I wasn't going to miss his games. And then after Cisco, went back to HP to work for Dan Belanger for 7 years on another stint under the Meg Whitman era, which was a lot of fun. And then post that, I did a startup. After we sold Pensando Systems, I was involved in HP's investment in that company and running that globally. Did a SaaS startup, learned a lot about ARR, EBITDA, retention rates, and things that weren't really part of my career when I worked in infrastructure. And that led me to where I am today, which is, the CRO role, running a global operation for Rimini Street, around the world.
Excellent. And we have from Matt Zyplex, Steve. There you go. So anybody that's watching or listening, feel free to chime in with any comments or questions. And we got Tucker behind the scenes.
Matt McKinnon was my ISR at Zyplex back in 1992 or 93. So great to hear from you, Matt.
Awesome. Great. He's probably running something good and big now. So speaking of Rimini Street, why don't you tell us what they do?
So yeah, thanks, Randy. So Rimini Street is the company that invented the independent, or call it third-party support space for large-scale in-production software systems that run some of the largest global companies in the world. Okay, we provide support that is unrivaled as an alternative to the support that the software giants provide to their customers at 90-95% margin with a really, really low service level. We also provide managed services. We save customers a lot of money through that independent support, which we work with them to reinvest in the innovation side of the house, in building their business content. And that has led us also to help with a lot of business transformation, a lot of technology transformation and digital transformation, but also managed services for these applications, as well as a recent announcement that many have saw or seen with ServiceNow, where we've developed a global partnership, and we're leveraging our partnership with ServiceNow to put a layer on top of these ERP systems that we're supporting and allow for customers to modernize them and transform them without the kind of disruption that would happen if they transform those systems with the vendors that sold them that software. So we're a great alternative. We invented the space. We've got thousands of customers around the world. I have a team globally. We support customers, some of the largest customers in the world, in over 100 countries around the world. And we also provide local language support in over 25 countries with Rimini Street employees on the ground, caring for those customers and enabling for them to be successful and create business outcomes.
Oh, so is the sell at a high level, we can offer you better support for less?
That's the land. And generally with all the pressures within IT budgets today, especially if you're communicating that message to a CFO or a CEO who wants to deliver, value back to their business, that's the land. But once we land, Randy, customers are so satisfied with our support experience that almost always they want to have conversations about what else we can do. And I've traveled the world in the last 10 months of being here. I've been to Sydney, Australia. I've been to Japan a couple of times. I've been to Europe, all over the USA, and I'm overly impressed by the level of confidence and satisfaction that our company has driven with regards to the support experience we provide these customers. It's unmatched from any other company I've worked for in the past.
Awesome, so good. And from Kevin Chabot, we have What a Ride. Kevin's fond memories of when he was running the SAS account and sales calls that we had there. And I know he's done a lot with you, and he runs the East for you now, I think, right?
Yes, yeah. Kevin Chabot, along with Mike Marin, and as well as James Wilson, are the leadership team from the East. My style, Randy, is I don't hire strangers, right? I hire people that have proven success that I've worked with or have worked around, or people that I trust have worked with or worked around. And Kevin has executed in several companies for me, and I'm excited about his leadership in the East and what that new sales leadership under Kevin Maddock, who's my general manager for North America, is building. Quarter over quarter, the results have been amazing. So thank you, Kevin, Mike, and James, and Kevin Maddock. Let's keep it alive here. We've got 2 more weeks in the book.
Nice. All right. Love it. Love it. Love it. So from Tracy, hey, Tracy, good to hear from you. Says, it's great to see you guys. Rimini Street is helping clients around the globe accelerate their transformation. Looks like you brought on several from the old days. John says, yes. I can testify the commit culture drives results on the ride too. So we'll get to that in a little bit. I have a dream team driving commit culture. Great. So appreciate the comments. Feel free to also make any of them questions for those that are out there. Sonia, what about, so it sounds like everything's easy, piece of cake, sales calls, great value prop. What challenges do you have?
Yeah, nothing about this business is easy, right? So our competitors, it's a David and Goliath story, Randy. Our competitors are some of the largest software companies in the world, and they know that the level of service that we provide is really unmatched. So there's not an opportunity that my team is in around the world that doesn't get highly contested and doesn't get escalated to the executive ranks and doesn't become, a knife fight, right? So that's difficult. Also, look, I'm bringing in a sales-driven culture. And when you inherit a culture or a team of people who've been working in a services-led culture, the level of intensity and urgency is not exactly the same, right? Not that they were selling the wrong way, just the style of what I expect and what I like to hold my team accountable for is different that was expected in previous administrations, right? So the one thing for certain that I'll tell you is that I've got phenomenal support from our leadership team. My CEO, Seth Raven, is a phenomenal leader and is also the co-founder of this company. I've got phenomenal support from the board, and I've got a great executive team that I collaborate with, within the C-suite that all support the good work of wanting to get this company back to growth and acceleration, and not just growth, but profitable revenue growth. So we're all in this together. We're on the same side of the table, and like any company, right? There's a difference. When you get to the size that we are, which is almost $500 million in sales, certain set of things that get you there. But to get to the next 100 million, the next 100 million, and to get this thing to over $1 billion in sales, which is my personal goal in the next 18 months, takes a different set of management style, different set of capabilities, and a different set of ways of thinking about the business. So we have our challenges. We're not without them. But what I love about this company is that we're willing to face those challenges. We hit them head on. It's about straight talk, about transparency, and at the end of the day, it's all about execution.
Oh, so great. Now, so to support that growth, I assume you have some openings you're hiring for?
We do. So we are constantly looking for top talent. We're hiring, around the world. Almost every region in my business has room for top talent. Based upon the relationship that we've ignited with ServiceNow, which we believe is the opportunity for both companies is exponential. We've got openings in our ServiceNow organization as we build that out, both on the engineering side as well as on the sales side. We're building out our partner and alliances organization, and then almost every leader in my organization, from a boots on the ground, individual contributor, selling perspective, has got sales openings that they're trying to fill. So we are hiring. We're hiring top talent. We want people that understand how to sell services and understand the art of the possible. If you were to talk to my CEO, he talks a lot about it's not just about the land on support services, but it's about how to really help these customers get from where they are today in their innovation journey and their digital transformation journey to where they need to be. And our resources and our capabilities as a company in this area are unmatched. So yeah, we are hiring, and reach out if you have got the skills to join this journey and help us accelerate.
Awesome. And Kevin chimed back in, said most fun I've had in 15 years. So certainly says a lot of great things about your culture. So speaking about title topic, driving a commit culture. So how do you define that?
Randy, there's a lot of things about a commit culture. When I talk about a commit culture, of course, my brain automatically goes to sales because I'm a sales leader, and I talk about commitments around the forecast. But for me, it really refers to a sales environment where the team can be deeply dedicated to achieving our collective sales goals, right? To prioritizing customer relationships, to demonstrating consistent effort and accountability in their day-to-day jobs. And it's often underpinned, at least in my culture it is, by values like integrity, collaboration, continuous improvement, ensuring a strong commitment to the sales process, and most importantly, customer satisfaction. And I'll also tell you, it ties back to something that you taught me when I worked in your organization, and that is that there are no pocket vetoes. right? So when you have a commit culture and you decide on a strategy, we can have a debate about it all day long. We get in a room, I'm open to those conversations, but once a decision is made, whether you agree or disagree, we're still tasked with going out and executing, right? So that's how I would define it.
Yeah. And now from the literal sense in terms of commit, what about in terms of when people commit to kind of what their number is, for better, for worse, what are your thoughts around that?
Well, I mean, look, this is the whole purpose of me instituting this culture, right? Because when I came into the organization, we didn't have that level of discipline around the accountability at the ground level where the deals are actually made, right? And so what I witnessed, and it's not just in Rimini Street, I've seen this in other companies at HPE before that, at Vertana, I saw it, in some cases at Avaya and other places, where you have this roll up of the forecast coming through the first line managers, the second line managers, the VP general managers, right? And then we get a number out there, and then we miss. And then the reason that we sometimes we make it, but the reason a lot of times I've noticed doing the analytics on it that we've missed is because the boots on the ground and the team were not in the boat committing their business, right? And so what we were rolling up was basically hope. And as we all know, hope is not a strategy, right? So one of the fundamental things I learned under John Chambers and the culture we built at Cisco back in the mid 90s, in the late 90s, is that we have to all, take ownership and accountability for the health of our own businesses, and that we have to be able to commit weekly. You should be able to have at least a 7-day line of sight to what's going on in your business. It's certainly an effect of what you've been doing the last 3 months, but to how you're going to perform week in and week out to move us closer to achieving those individual and team goals. And so that's been my observation as I've instituted this policy, where we leaderboard everybody, we roll a commit up weekly from the ground up. We miss this number once in a while, we overachieve it once in a while. But at the end of the day, I feel like we've got much better command and control of the true health of this business and where our problems are and who has, their arms around their business versus who is just calling something that really wasn't fully qualified, that they never really done that, that hard work around. And it's really shined a light, and it's become very, very healthy. The people that are at the top of my leaderboard get it. The people that are in the middle are rising to the top. And the people that are on the bottom of that leaderboard want to fight their way to the top and are embracing this culture.
Awesome. What about any sales pet peeves you have?
Well, one of the biggest pet peeves that I have, Randy, and I know, you and I have had this discussion over many years, is, we sell large, complex deals that oftentimes require a lot of executive approval, and they require us to be selling to the executive team with a business relevant message and understanding the CEO and the CFO and the CIO's key business initiatives. One of the biggest pet peeves that I have, Randy, is where we have teams that will float a large quote on a complex opportunity, $500,000, $1 million, and flip it in over an email, okay? And then hope some knight in shining armor comes riding out on a white horse with a PO or a contract, okay? That doesn't work for me. I'm of the mindset that any large strategic deal, no matter what the size, we have to suit up, we have to show up, and we have to present our solution, which demonstrates to the customer how serious we are about their business and about this business and enabling their success. So I really get frustrated when I see proposals going out and being flipped to a partner or to an end user, and we're trying to close a purchasing, a person or a middle level IT person, and we haven't done the work and gotten in front of the decision maker, the guy or the gal that can say yes when everybody says no, or the guy or the gal that can say no when everybody else says yes, and have truly presented, assumptions about what we understand about the customer's business, what the business fit is between our companies, what the technological fit is between our solution, what the savings opportunity is and how that can leverage and help them innovate, right? And then assuming a good, strong close about what the appropriate path forward is, right? This is my biggest pet peeve in sales.
Absolutely. And from Kevin Purcell, he says, exciting times. We are redefining what is possible within our industry. Steve is the definition of leading by example and is truly changing the culture. So, thinking about Kevin and the others, especially Kevin. So, you go there new, but it's really vital kind of who you bring in on your team that can kind of help with that, I'll say, cultural revolution and evolution to have this commit culture in order to sell more, which Kevin exudes.
That's right. Yeah. And, listen, I've been in this industry for almost 30 years. I know I'm dating myself. I've got a large network of
You're
people.
doing a great job keeping your hair, though.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. But, look, it's surround, as a leader, you can't scale a business like this on your own. You've got to surround yourself with good people. And it's not just the people that I brought into the organization, like Kevin Purcell. We've got great leaders that have been around this company for many years that know the ins and outs of how to get things done and just need a little different coaching in terms of how to do things slightly differently so that we can accelerate growth. So Kevin Maddock is an example who runs North America for me, right? Guy Guthieri, who runs my West region, is Kevin Chabot's peer. I've got, folks all over the world, GMs all over the world that have done great things for this company and across different business units. And it's about sort of complementing the good work that they've done and really, trying to, up level our level of play into the market.
That's great. So Tracy brings up a couple good points, but maybe you can briefly talk about what he mentions about having the best onboard training. Is that something that existed or something you brought in?
No, it's something that's already existed here, and it's mainly due to the good work that Alex Goldvug, my vice president of worldwide revenue operations, and his enablement team have done to really prepare this sales force to engage and go to battle. Okay, so he and the leader, Seb Schutz is leader of worldwide enablement now. They've done a great job of putting a systematic process in place that involves role plays, real life customer situations, objection handling, executive selling, leveraging the village. The village at Rimini Street is the entire village of resources that we have around the world that have deep specialization in things like SAP, VMware, Oracle, Click Software, TIBCO, managed services, ServiceNow, right? So that's something that the company's had, and it's a fallout of my boss and our CEO, Seth Raven, because he's passionate. He honestly believes that we have a responsibility as a company to enable our people and get them prepared to go sell. And we can't hold them accountable if we send them to a gunfight with one arm tied behind their back and a knife in their hand.
Absolutely. So great point there, Tracy. Thank you so much. So on the pet peeves on my side, I might be old school column that I do weekly got generated back a couple weeks ago. I was on a plane. Persons in sales sit next to me. Of course, I talk to them and tell us how busy they are and this and that, blah blah blah. And then basically the whole plane ride didn't really do anything. Not didn't I could see if you want to sleep or you want to read a book or do something, but basically we just like hanging. And then I said, can I give you some feedback? Yeah, I said, you're complaining of any time. Like I find the plane the best time just to kind of crank through a whole bunch of stuff. So, it seems, as much as companies can get in the way of distracting people, that whether you're you or especially reps, whatever they can do to be more productive, to really not waste time, is something that's also really critical, right?
Yeah, I mean, we all know the phrase "always be selling." In sales, right? There's no downtime, and if obviously, we all need to have some work-life balance. I'm not suggesting that people work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if you own the responsibility and accountability for driving your own business and you're a sales guy, that is good quality time if you've got Wi-Fi to follow up on things, to even do some of those non-revenue producing internal things when you can't engage the customer because you've got the cycles to do it. And I'll tell you, interestingly enough, I flew to Chicago this week for a meeting, and on my plane, I met a CEO sitting next to me that is running a startup in the alternative food category. So he makes sort of a plant-based version of chicken, which I thought was interesting. Interestingly enough, we talked about what I did. He talked about what he did. We talked about private equity and some of the fundraising he did. And he mentioned to me, when I shared with him who I work for and what my role was, that he's battling with one of our competitors right now on a big contract. And so I said, hey, how about this? I'm on Wi-Fi right now. I'm going to make pop me an email. I'm going to make an introduction to my VP of the West, that's Guy Raferi, who I mentioned before. Guy engaged him immediately while we were in flight and set up a call for 30 minutes after he landed. I got a text from the guy a few hours later saying, hey, really appreciate the connection with Guy. He was very, very helpful. Thank you so much, right? So you never know when an opportunity is going to come your way. And you always have to, to run your business, regardless if you're in a plane, train, in a bus, or in a car.
Absolutely. And we're talking before about all the different sales tools that are out there, and a couple that you had shared with me, Clary and ZoomInfo is a couple of your favorites.
Yeah, no, I love what Clary provides. ZoomInfo is a great resource for us. They provide us with a lot of business intelligence, and a lot of the folks on my team use that, because you got to understand, we're targeting some of the largest in production software estates in the world. We have to know where they are. And in order for our sales team to be highly effective, they have to be able to use tools like ZoomInfo as an example, right? To figure out what the high potential targets are in their territory, right? And then as it relates to Clary, I mean, look, I started using Clary a few years ago. Alex Goldbug, who's my worldwide VP of Revenue Operations, it's a religion to him. Our goal together every quarter is to break the AI within Clary, right? We did it last quarter, and we're on a march to do it again this quarter. But the insights that it provides you around how your people are doing, who needs additional help, who's overperforming, who's underperforming, how they're tracking, it gives us such good business insights that it really directs the precious and limited resources that we have to focus on the things that can actually really move the dial on the business.
Wow. What do you mean when you said break AI with Clary? What does that mean?
So all of these tools, Clary included, have an AI function where they take and look back historically at your close rates around quarters, around where deals were at in certain stages, and taking a combination of different data points and data analytics, they will predict where they think you're going to land by the end of the quarter. In my conversations with Clary over the years, they call it scary Clary, because it's incredibly accurate. Okay. My goal is to make it inaccurate to the good, right? So, when Clary says we're going to do X, the challenge I put in front of my team is, hey, the AI tool doesn't have any confidence in us. Let's go show this AI tool that, that we can, beat it and overachieve. And that's a good motivator in and of itself, because you can get personal on it. And of course, we take insights as well from our RevOps team and my chief of staff, Louise Ford, who do a great job of analyzing the data the old-fashioned way with a manual touch. We're all deep in the deals. But my goal is to always break the AI tools. And we use other AI tools inside of our company. We started a program with UC Berkeley, about a year ago, and we've hired some data scientists out of there. And we use not only Clary's AI, but a lot of other AIs led by my chief operating officer, Phil Cullen, who's a peer of mine, to try and help us triangulate how the quarter is going, what adjustments we need to make, and how we can accurately predict, the health of our business.
Awesome. So great. And then kind of going back down on the old school side, you actually still have a big cold calling function as well, right?
We do. We've got a very robust sales development SDR function inside the company. The leader for North America is a guy by the name of Zach Firestone, who's doing an excellent job. And we are continuing to enhance, this element of our business as we evolve our messaging to become more of an end-to-end, edge-to-cloud player in services and managed services and modernization services. But yeah, we do. We have outbound dialing. We have event follow-up. We have email campaigns going on. We have active leaderboards, for this team of young sales professionals, and it's really a good proving ground for us and a good bench for us, as has been proven before. To get people, moved into the sales organization that understand our culture, understand our value proposition, and are not cold, coming into the company.
Awesome. And from Carrie, I think it is, says, thank you, Randy, for the ZoomInfo shout out. Commit culture equals real business results. No more happy years.
Thank you, Carrie.
I tell you, ZoomInfo as a company does a great job. Side note, and Tucker knows he was on the chain last night. I have a company, another client, I won't say the name, but I had the CIO of Intel ready to commit to a meeting, which probably really doesn't have any right doing, but doing as a favor. His admin gave us different time slots, three different days, like 3 weeks out, and the company couldn't come up with an executive to map into that time slot. I'm like, you just got to be friggin' kidding me. So, and I know it would not be your DNA or my DNA. So,
No,
just crazy.
that's embarrassing to you, right? And I feel bad for you because, look, we have to be opportunistic and ready to respond. That's what the companies are paying us to do.
Crazy. Yeah. To be clear, that was not ZoomInfo. They're great. I had James Roth, the CRO, called 2 days ago. Tuna is his nickname. Another great leader yesterday too. But anyway, so what about in kind of leading this change around? We've got Sandler's a sponsor, but kind of around the ongoing kind of training and development. What things do you try to lean in on? A lot that I hear from leaders is, you had a lot of people promoted up to first line management roles during COVID, probably weren't deserving. Companies really kind of were short on kind of the training and development. What are you doing?
Well, so I would tell you that because our business is extremely unique, like we're not your typical SaaS company. We're not your typical, managed services company like one of the big I6, Wipro, TCS, HCL, or even one of the big SIs like DXC, Kyndryl, Deloitte, KPMG. We've had to customize through Alex Goldbug and the enablement team a set of resources, both self-paced and in person, that could really train our salespeople about how to deliver our value proposition and our message. So we have a lot of customization around that. On top of that, though, I'm a big fan of sales processes like the Challenger sale, right? So I encourage that. I've shipped some books around to some of our team. Was in Europe a few weeks ago. We talked a lot about Challenger selling, which is based upon the notion of teaching, tailoring, and then taking control of a sales cycle. We've also used MedPick in our company previously, more on the qualification side. We use some parts of it today, but we don't adhere to it end to end because it was really built for SaaS. Whereas our business is a bit more unique in terms of support services, managed services, and then specifically ERP transformation services through our relationship with ServiceNow. One of the ones that I like, and by the way, I'm scheduled to meet with Sandler in a couple of weeks, and hope to learn more about how they can help us and what their value is. They've got a great reputation in the industry. But I was involved in the sales training process by a gentleman who I respect highly in the industry. His name's Dan Koch, and he wrote a book called Beyond Selling Value. And I trained on this system very, very early in my career. And it goes back to the point that I made to you about one of my pet peeves around folks that don't do the hard work up front and then don't ultimately get a meeting to go in and present and have a business presentation around our proposal, where they're just sort of launching quotes and stuff over email. And so I have a lot of respect for Dan. Hey, Dan, if you're out there, hello, we need to catch up. But Dan is built a real good business around teaching salespeople how to do things like research inside of a sales process. What's research? You call on a couple of people that work for the decision maker that you're going to do a business presentation for. You call on his or her admin, and you figure out and you align yourself to what things are important to them as they connect to the CEO's key initiatives in that company, right? He did a lot around those kinds of things, as well as having a very, very structured business presentation approach, so that where tone really matters, right? Where you start off very humbly in these business presentations and confirm your understanding of the company's priorities and what they're trying to accomplish as a business. And then once confirmed, you get more assertive, right? Through that process to talk about the business fit between your companies, talk about the technical fit between your solution, and then ultimately lead the customer to a decision point where they've got to make a decision about what the next steps are, right? I love those kind of trainings because they're easy to use and you can put them in play and get value out of them immediately, versus these 12-week programs that are really hard to comprehend. And we all know, Randy, good high-performing salespeople have two main characteristics. They all have ADD, and they all have cataracts. They don't like to read much, and their attention span is very, very short.
I hear you. I may resemble a little bit of that. So from Sarah says, love the commit to finding the right talent to win against Goliath every time takes a unique seller. What innate talents are you looking for in new hires, and what specific sales competencies are most important to win at Rimini Street? So why don't you maybe talk to the hiring process, if there's kind of 2 or 3 things. I know there's a boatload that you look for, but kind of top 2 or 3?
Yeah, no, I think now in the evolution of our company, we're really keen on folks that have not only sold services and maybe even support services for one of the big software giants, but also have sold services from a systems integration perspective where they understand the end-to-end process, because it's not only support that we provide, that's the enabler, that's where we land, but we free up a lot of dollars to provide better application support. We free up dollars to provide more innovation capability around areas that are outside of what people would typically think about Rimini Street. So we're looking for folks that understand how to sell the art of the possible, folks that understand how to sell end-to-end services and know how to manage, top line versus margin, because anybody could sell these services, for less than it costs us to deliver them, and that's not what I'm after. It's about profitable revenue growth, right? And then folks that have networks, right? People that have been in the industry, that have relationships within companies that they've been selling to, that can open doors and get us to net new tables. Because one of my key missions this year, Randy, is net new logos and net new new client invoicing or revenue growth. We've got a great install base. Our retention rates are unmatched for any company like ours in our industry. We care for that with a new organization in the US led by Jill Brown, who Tracy Baggett actually works for, which is our engagement manager team. But our sales team, our account executives, right, our senior account executives are tasked this year with net new logo acquisition. And so to drive that, they have to be able to come in with some current relationships if they have them. If not, become very business relevant, be really good LinkedIn marketers, and be able to articulate our value proposition on an end-to-end basis.
Awesome. And you touched on the importance of research there. ZoomInfo, which we'll tell you about, is an awesome product called Copilot, which provides a ton of great research information. But you also mentioned relationships. I know that's something that we're both passionate about. That must be really important to your business as well.
Yeah, Randy, it is. And I learned a lot about relationships working for you, 15 years ago when you brought David Noor into one of our sales meetings. And I read his book called Relationship Economics, which I highly recommend. If you haven't read it, I think it was his first book or one of his first. It's one that you have to spend time. It's a pretty easy read. But it really talks about the importance of the value, the currency of relationships, and how you need to make a lot more deposits into those relationships, if you think about it like a bank account, than you can, before you can start making some withdrawals. And one of the things I loved about it that I practice today is the ability to still categorize your relationships in terms of the value that they are in your business life and in your personal life, right? And I think it drives a certain level of credibility, right? If you've built these relationships, if you've delivered good results, and not only that, but our business is highly built on references, right? And what I'm finding here is that as we execute and deliver, and I had a discussion with a CIO client of mine yesterday who said, he called me and said, "Hey, Steve, I've got a friend. He's a local CIO. We're part of the same business community. And he's got a problem that he's dealing with a big software vendor. Can you engage him and help?" Right? So I think, it's about categorizing the relationships, understanding the importance of them, keeping them alive. And then that's going to open up doors for you to get to the table when you change business cards, but then also to use that particular relationship as a reference to their peer group to sell higher, wider, and deeper into that community. And we all know that many of these communities are kind of localized, right?
Yep, absolutely. And Nears, which I'll tell you about offline, he's got a great new kind of putting in an app called Avnear, kind of all his relationship best practices. But anyway, time flies when you're having fun. You've been awesome. At the end, for those that know me, I always like to ask if you have any PG Randy story to share.
Yeah, well, I have one. So I remember a little shocker that I had. So Randy we were at a club trip in Hawaii. I think we were at the Four Seasons on the Big Island. And much to my surprise, Peter Quirk, who Randy mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, is a longtime friend and colleague of mine. His wife couldn't make the event, and he shows up with Randy as his +1, which was kind of hilarious.
Great. I highly recommend doing a +1.
But what I would say to you, the funniest part is that we had a night where we had to dress up, and Randy comes rolling in a in a toga robe with Peter, and they were looking like they were they were coming to the event together. So Peter had his +1. Randy was all tan, from laying out at the
very nice white. Those were white suits, not a toga. By the way, just to be clear, but yeah, Peter.
But it was funny watching you guys kind of come in as a couple, and I know it was all in good fun. But we had a great week that week, and that was an event that was hosted by Dan Belanger, who's now at NICE, and we're able to collaborate and really spend time together as friends, and and help each other. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of umbrella drinks, and Peter had an interesting date that weekend. It was Randy Silent.
There you go. Awesome. All right. Well, you've been awesome. Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes. Sandler, sales training sponsor, sales community, thank you. For those that are members of sales community, thanks. For those that are not, Tucker maybe can throw the link back on. And also, I usually have my book for staging here. Tucker, if you want to throw the link on for the book as well. My youngest son, Billy, who's minor leagues with the White Sox, is happy to sell you books. I tell him whatever he sells, he can keep. So if anybody's interested, he can ship to everybody's home addresses and put in nice cards that you guys can fill in and things like that. So anyway, awesome. Steve, thanks. Take care. We're going to drop off, but make sure you stay on, and everybody have a great holiday.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Randy.